I've been doing this for over 40 years. I've watched thousands of people walk into my courtroom with their shoulders high, their eyes low, or their hands shaking so bad they can't even hold their paperwork. Some come in guilty, some come in scared, some come in angry at the whole world. But the one thing I can't stand is when somebody tries to turn my courtroom into their personal playground. This happened on a Tuesday, April 14th, in Providence, Rhode Island. It was already a long morning. My clerk had called case number 22 TR 61804, and I remember the exact time on the courtroom clock. 10:47 a.m. Not because I'm obsessed with time, because that was the minute the air changed in the room. The case on paper looked simple at first. A hit and run, no injuries listed, property damage, a witness, a defendant who showed up with a lawyer. But I've learned something in my life. When a file looks simple and somebody walks in dressed like they're going to a fashion show, it's usually not simple at all. The defendant's name was Chase Whitmore, 28 years old, haircut so sharp it looked like it was measured with a ruler, teeth white like a billboard smile. He wore a black Balenciaga hoodie that probably cost more than my first car. His watch was a Rolex Daytona, stainless steel, shining under the courtroom lights like he wanted everyone to see it. And the belt, that was Gucci. Big gold letters, no shame about it. He didn't come in like a person coming to face consequences. He came in like he was attending an event. Behind him, his attorney kept whispering, "Chase, please, just..." But Chase waved him off like a servant, the kind of wave you do when you don't even want to waste words. And then I saw the keys on the table, Lamborghini keys, the kind with the little bull on them. He set them down on the defense table like a trophy, like the court should be impressed. Now let me tell you about the victim, because that's what made me tighten my grip on the bench. Her name was Elena Marquez, 36, a nurse at Rhode Island Hospital, 12-hour shifts, night shift most weeks. She came in wearing plain scrubs.
Buckle up, guys. Today we're going to witness how a routine traffic case turned into a full-blown reckoning. A veteran judge sets the tone, recalling decades on the bench, then introduces a simple hit and run that felt anything but simple. The clock reads 10:47 a.m., and the air shifts. What looks ordinary on paper is about to expose arrogance, power, and a collision far bigger than metal on metal.
Under a faded winter coat. She held a folder with both hands like it was holding her life together. Her shoes were worn at the toe, not dirty, just tired, like her. She didn't have a lawyer. She didn't have a fancy bag, no entourage. She had a small silver cross around her neck and a tired face that still tried to be polite. I asked her, "Ms. Marquez, are you here as the complaining witness?" She nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." Her voice was soft but steady. That's a special kind of strength, not loud strength. The kind that shows up anyway. This all started the night of March 2nd, 10:47 p.m. to be exact, because that's when the officer's report marked the first call. Elena had gotten off a shift. She parked her 2012 Honda Civic on Atwells Avenue. She ran into a small corner pharmacy to pick up medicine for her son, Mateo, who has asthma. She told me she had 2 inhalers in that bag, 1 rescue inhaler and 1 daily, $38.60 after insurance. She remembered the amount like it was burned into her. She walked back out, and that's when she saw her car jerk forward like someone had pushed it with a giant hand. Then she heard the scrape, metal on metal, the kind of sound that makes you...
The contrast in the courtroom is impossible to ignore. On one side, Chase Whitmore arrives dressed in luxury, Lamborghini keys displayed like a trophy. On the other, Elena Marquez stands in worn scrubs, clutching paperwork like survival. The narrative of that March night unfolds: an exhausted nurse, a pharmacy stop, and the violent scrape of a green SUV that doesn't stop. One driver speeds away, one mother runs after justice.
Her stomach drop. A bright green Lamborghini Urus, loud as a thunderclap, had clipped the rear of her car trying to squeeze into a spot it didn't fit in. The Civic jumped the curb, her tail light shattered. And then, instead of stopping, the driver revved the engine, swerved, and sped off. Elena ran after it. She wasn't thinking like a lawyer. She was thinking like a mom who can't afford a repair and can't afford to miss work. A nearby officer, Officer Daniel Riley, badge number 271, responded. He wrote that the SUV accelerated eastbound at a high rate of speed, estimated 55 mph in a 25 mph zone. There was a witness too, a delivery driver who happened to be sitting at the light, watching it all happen. That witness was the reason Chase Whitmore was sitting in front of me, because the witness got the plate, and the plate came back registered to a company called Whitmore Capital Holdings, LLC. Not Chase's name, not his father's name either. A company. That's how people hide, behind letters. Behind. Elena told me her car was her lifeline. She used it to get to work. She used it to take her son to appointments. Her husband had left 2 years ago, just gone, no support, no child support. She picked up extra shifts to keep the lights on. She wasn't asking for pity. She was explaining why one broken taillight can feel like...
Officer Daniel Riley's report and a delivery driver's eyewitness account tie the Lamborghini to the crash. The plate traces back not to a person, but to a company, Whitmore Capital Holdings, LLC. Elena explains what the damage means to her life, and Whitmore responds with a smirk. When questioned, he minimizes everything. Laughter echoes in a room where someone else is describing hardship, and imbalance becomes painfully clear.
Like a punch to the throat when you're already drowning. And while she was telling me that, Chase Whitmore leaned back and sighed like he was bored. I asked him, "Mr. Whitmore, do you understand the charge?" He smiled, not a friendly smile, a smug one. "I understand people exaggerate, Judge." His lawyer coughed and said, "Your Honor, my client maintains he was not the driver." Elena's eyes widened because she knew what she saw. She knew what she heard. She knew what her car looked like after. I looked at Chase. "Mr. Whitmore, this is a court of law, not a comment section." He chuckled. Actually chuckled. That sound hit me wrong. I've seen tough guys cry when they realize their license is gone. I've seen teenagers shake when they hear the word suspended. But I've never liked laughter when another person is talking about struggling. The assistant district attorney that morning was a man named Leonard Pike. He wasn't the elected DA, but he acted like he was. Crisp suit, perfect tie knot. He walked with that fast confidence like the courtroom belonged to him. I've worked with a lot of prosecutors. Many are good people. But every now and then, one comes in thinking their job is to win, not to do justice. Pike called the witness, the delivery driver. His name was Darius Cole. 24, works for a local food delivery service. He said he was at the light because his app told him to wait for a pickup. He was in a blue Toyota Corolla. He saw the crash. He saw the driver's face in the glow of the streetlight. He saw the defendant step out for a second, look at the damage, and then jump back in and take off. Darius pointed. "That's him."
Assistant District Attorney Leonard Pike calls the witness, Darius Cole. What begins as testimony quickly shifts tone. Instead of seeking clarity, Pike zeroes in on Darius's job and a past minor charge, implying danger in being wrong. The questions sharpen into warnings about perjury. The room tightens. What should be a search for truth begins to look like pressure designed to silence.
Chase's smile didn't change. He just looked at Darius like he was looking at a bug. And then Pike did something I still think about. Instead of letting the witness speak, Pike leaned in with his questions like a knife. And his voice got cold. He said, "Mr. Cole, you deliver food, correct?" Darius said, "Yes." Pike said, "So you're used to being outside late, used to being around trouble." Darius blinked. "I'm used to working." Pike nodded like he didn't hear it. "And you have a prior contact with police, don't you? A disorderly conduct from 2019? Darius looked confused.
The judge intervenes decisively. Pike is ordered to step back. Darius is told to look at the bench, not the prosecutor. The message is unmistakable. A witness will not be bullied in this courtroom. The temperature changes again, this time in defense of integrity. Authority reclaims the space. And for the first time, Whitmore's easy amusement meets resistance.
"That was a mistake. I paid a fine." Pike leaned closer. "A mistake. Sure. Now tell me, Mr. Cole, are you absolutely certain you want to accuse a man like Mr. Whitmore? Because if you're wrong, that's perjury. That's a felony. That can follow you for life." The room went quiet. Elena's hands tightened on her folder. Darius's throat moved like he swallowed a rock, and I saw it. That shift, that fear. This wasn't cross-examination. This wasn't testing credibility. This was a threat disguised as procedure. It was the kind of thing that makes honest people second-guess themselves because they don't speak court language. They don't know the rules. They just know someone in power is warning them. Chase Whitmore's smile got bigger. I said, "Mr. Pike." He kept going like he didn't hear me. "Because you understand, Mr. Cole, if you're lying here today, I can recommend charges. I cut him off. "Mr. Pike, stop." He paused, almost surprised I interrupted him, like he forgot there was a judge in the room. I said, "Step back from the witness." He stepped back, but his face tightened. "Your Honor, I'm simply advising." I leaned forward. "No, you're not advising. You're intimidating." He opened his mouth again. I raised my hand. I said, "Mr. Cole, look at me. Not him. Look at me." Darius turned toward me, eyes wide. I said, "You are under oath. You tell the truth. That's your job. And my job is to make sure you can tell it without being bullied." Pike tried to speak. "Your Honor," I said, "one more word, and you can explain yourself to the ethics board, and you can do it in writing." You could feel the room breathe again, like someone opened a window. Now, before I tell you what happened next, I want to challenge you. If you've ever seen someone in power push around someone smaller and it made your blood boil, prove it to me, like this video right now, and stay with me because the next part is where the whole courtroom turns.
Physical evidence enters the record. Paint transfer, carbon fiber debris, and a tow yard intake log showing fresh front-end damage on Whitmore's Lamborghini hours after the crash. A traffic camera captures the speeding green SUV running a red light. The defense moves to dismiss for lack of identification. The judge studies the room, then denies the motion. The smirk fades, if only briefly.
Chase laughed under his breath. Not loud enough for everyone, but loud enough for me. I looked at him. "Mr. Whitmore, do you find this funny?" He shrugged. "I just think this is dramatic." That word, dramatic. Like Elena's broken car, her son's asthma medicine, Darius's fear, all of it was a show for his entertainment. I turned back to the evidence. Officer Riley submitted photographs, clear ones. The green paint transfer on Elena's bumper, the unique pattern of the Lamborghini's front trim, the debris from a cracked carbon fiber lip. The report listed the estimated repair cost for Elena's car at $1,746.12. For her, that was a mountain. Then the officer had something else, a tow yard intake log from March 3rd at 2:23 a.m. Whitmore's Lamborghini Urus was brought in with front-end damage, not massive, but fresh. New scrape marks, new crack. The intake photo showed it. Chase's lawyer started shifting in his seat, quietly. Pike tried to regain control. "Your Honor, vehicles can be damaged in many ways."
Whitmore attempts to seize control, standing without recognition and dismissing the case as ridiculous. He belittles the delivery driver and trivializes the court itself. Murmurs ripple through the room. Then Elena raises her hand. Calmly, she mentions something she found online. The shift is subtle but powerful. The turning point isn't coming from the bench, it's coming from her folder.
I said, "They can, but coincidences don't pay rent." Elena looked like she wanted to cry, but wouldn't let herself. She kept her chin up. "That's dignity. That's what money can't buy." Then Officer Riley testified about the traffic camera at the intersection. The video wasn't perfect. It didn't capture a clear face. But it captured the bright green SUV, and it captured the plate, and it captured the speed. The officer said the system timestamp showed 10:49 p.m. when the SUV ran a red light. Pike, still sharp, asked the officer, "Can you state with certainty that Mr. Whitmore was driving?" Officer Riley answered carefully, "No, sir, I cannot identify the driver from the footage alone." Chase smirked again, like he thought he had found a crack to slip through. His lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we move for dismissal due to lack of identification." I didn't answer right away. I looked at the witness, I looked at Elena, I looked at Darius, and I looked at Chase Whitmore sitting there like consequences were for other people. I said, "Motion denied." Chase's smirk faded for half a second. Then he leaned over and whispered something to his lawyer. The lawyer's eyes widened, like he wished he hadn't heard it. I asked the lawyer, "Counsel?" The lawyer swallowed. "Your Honor, my client would like to address the court." That's usually not a good sign. Chase.
Elena presents Whitmore's public Instagram story from the night of the crash. On screen, a green dashboard, a speedometer at 72 miles per hour, and a caption calling Providence Roads his runway. Another clip shows him mocking a broke car that tried to kiss his bumper. The laughter captured on video contrasts sharply with the damage described in court. Digital bravado becomes documented evidence.
Stood up without permission. No, may I? No respect. He just stood like he owned the space. I said, "Sit down until I recognize you." He sat, but he rolled his eyes like a teenager. Then he spoke anyway. He said, "Judge, with all due respect, this whole thing is ridiculous. I have a company. I have responsibilities. I can't be here all day because some delivery guy thinks he saw something." Darius flinched. Elena stared at the floor. I felt that old heat in my chest, the kind my father used to call righteous anger. My father wasn't a judge. He was a working man. He taught me that if you have power, you protect people who don't. I said, "Mr. Whitmore, you don't get to insult witnesses in my court."
Confronted, Whitmore calls it a joke and mocks the judge personally, suggesting he clips coupons. The courtroom gasps. The response is measured, not explosive. The judge reframes the insult as a reflection of character, not status. Control, not anger, dominates the moment. The power dynamic shifts. Confidence built on wealth begins to look thin under scrutiny.
Courtroom. He laughed again, louder this time. "Come on, this is traffic court. You're acting like it's the Supreme Court." The room murmured. My clerk looked at me, waiting. And then the twist began, and it didn't come from my bench. It came from Elena's folder. She raised her hand. "Your Honor, may I say something?" I nodded. "Yes, ma'am." She took out her phone. Her hand shook a little. "I didn't know if this mattered, but my cousin told me to look online." Chase's posture changed, not fear, but irritation, like someone was wasting his time. Elena said, "I found his Instagram. It's public." I looked at Chase. "Is that correct, Mr. Whitmore? Do you have a public Instagram account?" He shrugged. "Everyone does." Elena read the username out loud. "I Chase Whitmore Official." Even the word official made my stomach turn. She said, "On March 2nd at 11:03 p.m., he posted a story." Pike stepped forward. "Your Honor, social media content must be authenticated." I held up my hand. "We will address authentication. Let her speak." Elena turned the phone toward the clerk. The clerk walked it to the screen we use for evidence display. The image popped up. It was a video, bright green dashboard, the bull logo on the...
Just as the courtroom absorbs the social media revelation, federal agents enter. Special Agent Mara Hines announces a signed warrant tied to insurance fraud, wire fraud, and obstruction. The swagger disappears instantly. The federal presence reframes everything. What seemed like arrogance in traffic court now intersects with a larger investigation, and Whitmore's world narrows in seconds.
Steering wheel, music blasting, the speedometer visible for a second. 72 miles per hour. And in the caption, written in white text over the video, it said, "Providence Roads are my runway." My courtroom got dead silent. Elena scrolled to the next story. It was a selfie video. The camera was angled so you could see his face clearly, Chase Whitmore's face, and he was laughing, saying, "Some broke car tried to kiss my bumper. I'm out." Then he made a kissing sound, and then he said the part that turned my stomach. "If you can't afford repairs, don't park near rich people." Elena's eyes watered, but she didn't break. That woman had more courage in her tired hands than Chase had in his whole designer outfit. Chase's lawyer's face turned pale. Pike's eyes widened too. For once, he wasn't the smartest guy in the room. The evidence had outpaced him, and I knew right then, this wasn't just a traffic case. This was a character case. I said, "Mr. Whitmore, do you..."
Screenshots and timestamps reveal coordinated online harassment targeting witnesses, including Elena. Links to private group chats, device IDs, and IP logs connect Whitmore directly to intimidation efforts. Even Pike's earlier conduct draws scrutiny. The evidence is no longer circumstantial. It is technical and traceable. Receipts replace rhetoric, and the illusion of untouchability fractures.
Deny this is your Instagram account. Chase leaned forward. So what? It's a joke. People joke. I said, a joke is when both sides laugh. He rolled his eyes. Judge, you wouldn't get it. You probably never even drove a car like that. And then he looked right at me and said it, clear as day, with that sneer people use when they think money is proof of worth. He said, no offense, but you look like you still clip coupons. The courtroom gasped. I didn't move. I didn't yell. I've learned over decades that anger can be loud, but control is louder. I said, Mr. Whitmore, my father clipped coupons. My mother clipped coupons. They did it so their children could eat. So if you think that insult lands on me, it doesn't. It lands on you. And then I leaned in and said, but you just taught me something very important about your heart. Now listen close, because what I'm about to say next is the part people never expect. If you're curious how this Instagram post unlocked a bigger crime and changed the whole case, stay right here.
The judge addresses both intimidation and arrogance head-on. Darius confirms he felt threatened. Pike is silenced. The courtroom's purpose is reaffirmed. Truth must be safe here. Whitmore's attempt to belittle and dominate collapses under the weight of federal oversight and judicial authority. The proceeding continues, now layered with consequences far beyond a traffic citation.
Because the next witness that walked in shocked everybody. Because right after that social media clip played, the back doors opened and two people came in. Not regular court officers. These were federal agents, suits, but not shiny, calm faces. The kind of calm that comes from having real authority. One stepped forward and handed my clerk a card, Special Agent Marla Hines, federal badge displayed. She waited until I looked at her. I said, Agent, what is the purpose of your presence? She said, Your Honor, we are here regarding Mr. Chase Whitmore and a pending federal matter. We were monitoring this proceeding because this witness intimidation issue intersects with an ongoing investigation. Chase's smile disappeared so fast it was like someone slapped it off his face. His lawyer stood up quick. Your Honor, I request a sidebar. Agent Hines said, No need. The warrant is already signed. The courtroom froze. Elena covered her mouth. Darius looked like he couldn't breathe. Chase stood halfway up like he wanted to run, then sat back.
Elena's request is simple. Repair her car and stop the behavior. The sentence reflects that clarity. Full restitution is ordered, along with maximum contempt fines and 200 hours of community service at Rhode Island Hospital. No designer logos, no Rolex, no shortcuts. The penalty targets perspective, not just punishment, forcing proximity to the kind of labor he dismissed.
Back down because his legs stopped listening to him. Agent Hines continued, Mr. Whitmore is under investigation for insurance fraud, wire fraud, and obstruction. There is also evidence of coordinated social media harassment targeting witnesses in prior incidents. And then she looked at Pike, including actions that occurred in this courtroom today. Now Pike's face went gray, because it wasn't just Chase who crossed the line. It was the way Pike tried to scare a witness into silence, and Agent Hines saw it. Everybody saw it. I looked at Pike slowly. Mr. Pike, did you think my courtroom didn't have eyes? He stammered. Your Honor, I said, save it. You will save it for the record and for your supervisor. Agent Hines then produced printed screenshots, timestamps. March the 2nd, 11:03 p.m., March 2nd, 11:07 p.m. Another post at 12:14 a.m. on March 3rd. It was a Snapchat screenshot showing a photo of Elena's damaged bumper with text over it, broke vibes. And attached to that post was a link, a short link. Agent Hines explained, that link directed followers to a private group chat where witnesses in multiple cases were mocked, doxxed, and pressured. We have recovered messages tying Mr. Whitmore to a coordinated effort to intimidate witnesses and manipulate testimony. Chase's lawyer put both hands on the table like he was trying not to collapse. Chase finally spoke without swagger. "This is insane. I didn't do that," Agent Hines replied, calm as ice. "We have your device ID, we have your IP logs, and we have the messages." The words device ID and IP logs sounded like another language to some people, but I knew what they meant. It meant receipts, real ones. I looked at Chase. "Mr. Whitmore, you thought this was a joke. You thought this was traffic court. You thought a nurse and a delivery driver were easy targets." He swallowed. I said, "And you thought you could insult me because you believe money is rank." He looked down. "Now, I don't control federal charges, but I do control my courtroom, and I do control contempt, and I do control what happens when someone tries to terrorize a witness under my roof." I turned to Darius. "Mr. Cole, did you feel threatened by what the prosecutor said to you?" Darius hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, Your Honor."
As federal agents prepare to process Whitmore, his confidence dissolves into desperation. He offers to settle. Elena replies that she wanted respect, not money. The Lamborghini keys sit useless on the table as he is led away. The courtroom steadies. Justice restores balance, protecting the vulnerable and correcting the powerful. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.